happen as we progress. I want to say, and I hope this doesn't sound also like me being defensive, if it is, let me know, but I think that there's a way that we're talking about gay liberation as something that has to do with the heart, that includes all people. Some people may be more oppressed than others, people of color, women may have less access to the ideas, and we need to be aware of that, but that this is something that each of you, because of the power of love as the way the world turns around love, that can be a centralizing, homosexual love can be a centralizing way of understanding how to deal with even though the other oppressions.
Right.
So that
can be a bridge, actually.
And can be a bridge.
And actually, I would suggest that if you read Mitch's work, actually he does draw on non-Western myths and motifs to build his ideas. So.
Right, and I think a lot of it has to do with representation. Right, because in being able to have representation, meaning in the sense that, you know, to have someone who looks like me, talks like me, and acts like me, in a sense, is not to say that that's okay, but the representation is so powerful, and that's why media is such a powerful thing, because it's a representation. And sometimes representation is a very powerful thing in regards to being able to spread that message and to be inclusive.
Well, one of the things I might say, again, you know, this is just
I'm not condemning, but I'm
just a constant conversation that we need to keep having about representation. One of the things that I hope that I can connect with you and say, you know, let's see if we can connect, because then maybe if you're a person of color, maybe you can connect with this, and then we can grow our representation,
right?
Which we need to do. So that's what I would say, and maybe as one homosexual to another homosexual, I'm assuming you're homosexual, I don't know if you are, I apologize. I hope it's a correct assumption. There's no reason why not. But maybe that's a way to connect, to create that bridge.
No, well, I mean, it's true, I think, and you're right in regards to being able to share that, because it's, in working on my dissertation, you start to really see that this is, you know, we start to find the pathologies, all these kind of things, where you're right, in that sense of having that love,
the turn on,
we
can, I think, share it like a turn on.
Right.
We can share that. And maybe that's a way that we can connect in a way that other folks can. We can share that turn on. So maybe that turn on is a way to connect with what Mitch is trying to write about. I think Mitch, if you check out this book, Mitch is able to do in the writing.
Go ahead, just keep going.
Mitch is able to do in the writing with something that rarely happens, which a lot of the students in the LGBT specialization read these books and they're really boring because they tell us about LGBT, but there's no revolution, there's no eros, and there's no me. It's boring. It's sociology. It's mostly boring. So when you read this, it's like having a conversation that we're having a conversation. There's an evocation of what does it mean to wake up as a homosexual or as a person. And as you're reading, you're going through an alchemical experience if you read it, I think, with sincerity. So, you know, one way of talking about how to read the book is that Mitch tells the story of what happens from the libido's narrative perspective, not so much from the gay person's perspective. In that way, libido might be able to might transcend all of our differences. Mary.
I'm kind of...
Well, say your name too.
Oh, sorry, I'm Mary, and I'm interested in how you see. I mean, I'm a woman interested in your ideas, and it seems very male. When I look up, it's for gay men. So, do you have a thought about how you think about women and inclusiveness?
Well, yeah, I think so. I think one of the people who was very involved in helping us to found and get some of our ideas together, and also who was involved in helping me start the LGBT specialization, Sandra Galvin, she was involved in what was called sapphic psychoanalysis, and the way that a homosexual relationship with the psyche, which is what Mitch is talking about, both from the psyche's point of view as well as from the conscious mind's point of view, which calls a double mutuality, is possible for all people. homosexual male and homosexual lesbians may be more magnetically connected to that based on kind of Plato's Symposium's myth of the four round people, which I won't say too much more about. But all people have a relationship to their eros as almost a sacred marriage between a double of some kind. So we don't have it. In fact, Mitch says very clearly, while there might be a male bias in here, I really do believe that it's women who actually will open the door to the breaking down of the fascist consumerist military-industrial complex. So he does say, I hope women can become more connected to these ideas. Because all people have a psyche, have a soul from this Jungian perspective. I'm talking mostly from an LGBT-centered Jungian perspective about imagining the soul and the unconscious as actually a living, intelligent presence that's yearning for relationship from the conscious empirical personality. So everyone has that. It's just because we're, due to our privilege and other things that make us able to sit up here talking about it. Just like Jung was talking about queer things too, he just had all that extra privilege that allowed him to be what he could articulate. So I hope, does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, well, it makes me feel if Sandra was so right, there might be something else in development.
Yes.
In terms of an institute for women.
Well, I think that was why we wanted to talk to you guys and reach out to you as fellow activists. Get you to take, to be turned on. Mitch's point is this isn't just for a few people. This is a gay liberation grassroots issue. That all of us are actually in the middle stage of when libido starts to really finally get going and it projects itself onto a parent, let's say, of the same sex if we're being homosexual, and then that.
You're talking psychoanalytic.
I'm suggesting Mitch looks at the development of eros from a Jungian psychoanalytic point of view. Takes it's more of an imaginative hypothesis about the way this might go, based I think on his own inner work and our own intuition about it. But that there's a psychosexual stage of development for this libido as it's beginning to concretize and it projects itself in a kind of Freudian, Jungian way, Oedipally onto a parent. And the frustration of that Oedipal impulse, which you can only imagine when you fall in love and you masturbate or you get turned on, that it's really, really intense, especially if you're little, especially if you're a queer kid and you can't even comprehend it. It's like, ah! And then Freud says there's an incest taboo, which makes sense, and the frustration of that incest taboo from a Jungian perspective constellates that projection of that eros, that Uranian eros, back into the mind of the child as the soul, as the image of the soul, as the image of a great, powerful spirit force that we don't really have much of a relationship to, but is driving homosexual development, driving us arriving here today, driving these conversations, even though most people live, including myself, pretty much on the mundane level. But where Mitch is inviting us to open up to what makes us want to come and get excited and turned on and get more connected to that.
And liberated.
And liberated and whole. And it's magical. It's almost as if, I was meditating last night, it's almost as if that there's actually a deeper, bigger personality who is there and is turned on and is watching us. And it's not like God. It's connected to our subjectivity. It's connected to our eros. And it's actually can be dialogued with. And it's really scary because it's scary. Because part of the reason it's scary is, and I think why there's an ethical import about dealing with this work, is that there's so much blockage. There's so much blockage to getting more connected. And that is really, I think, where we're starting to get more intense and more how the challenge of doing this work is that blockage is where raised, let's say, as these Uranian eros, adepts, were raised in horribly heteronormative familial environments that are repressive and suffocating. this is a hypothesis, of course, because most people think that their parents did the best that they could. But from a Jungian perspective, most parents are actually very primitive and are not very psychological and are not able to really relate to the individual, whatever is her sexual orientation or gender variance, in any way that's not narcissistic, actually, and very barbaric. So layered on top of that, being a little queer kid, a lesbian or gay kid, or intersex or whatever kind of kid, and it's just it's beyond trauma. I mean, it's beyond anything I think any of us can comprehend, although you may feel it during the day in terms of you're blah, you're depressed, or you can't get the love you want. So Mitch is saying that in order for this Uranian eros to keep evolving and growing and developing, that the only way to do that is for the activists to get connected to this problem of the shadow problem. Jungian psychology says that even though there's an ego, the ego casts a shadow, the dark side of the mind. Freud had other names for it. Freud called it sometimes the superego or the death instinct. But that there are other parts of us that we are not aware of from a psychoanalytic point of view that actually run the show. And to start to get connected to that, Jung says that's the shadow. And for us homosexual people, that would be, let's say, the gay shadow. So the fear, trembling, whatever you want to call it, around, I don't want to deal with that stuff, is what Mitch is saying is what's keeping our movement back. And one manifestation or effect of that is assimilationism. Is that I don't want to go any deeper here. Okay, great. I have some semblance. I have some semblance of a respectable life. I have a partner, and we have a white picket fence, and we have a BMW, maybe not a BMW, but or one wish to have a BMW. We're on Facebook. We every now and then we go on a vacation. We even have children. We have these horrible, horrible fights that no one on Facebook knows about. And we destroy each other in therapy. And our therapist supposed to say, hey, how do I deal with this couple? They're so violent. Let's have a transfer. But it all looks like, this is the best we can do. Like, come on, it's been hard enough. I grew up as a miserable kid. I just want my piece of the pie, okay? I don't want to give a shit about anybody else. I just want to go get on Grindr and go to the gym. I'm making big stereotypes. I'm sure there's all kinds of violence in what I'm saying. And we can see it in our community that things are, at least 20 years ago, there were more bookstores, there were more gay bars, there was more sense of activism. For what it was worth, there was more of it, and now things have gotten much more watered down. I mean, you guys are here, and we're here, and we're trying, and there's the LGBT specialization in the Institute, so there are islands of resistance, but for the most part, it's pretty assimilationist in our community, or postmodern. Those are the options, either queer theory or assimilationist. So Mitch is saying, well, here we are. Here there's an ethical opportunity for us. How about to become more homosexual, not less? To open up to become more connected to the eros, to be curious about what else is inside besides just the status quo or the mundane or the boring or the compromise. Or just being a therapist, make, $70,000, whatever the mission is, but to have an activist vision. So he says that actually all of us are in the presence historically of dealing with that ethical challenge of whether to take up the shadow and help Uranian eros evolve in our own subjectivities to its greatest possible potential and really connect with that.